I never imagined that just 3 days after burying my wife, the people I loved most would try to steal everything we had spent a lifetime building. They thought grief had broken me. They believed a 70-year-old widower would quietly hand over his company without a fight. What they did not know was that I already held the one piece of evidence that would destroy every lie they had spent nearly 20 years protecting. I sat at the head of my company's boardroom table, staring at the faces I once called family. The room was silent until my daughter-in-law, Melissa, slammed a thick stack of legal documents onto the polished wood. Without the slightest hint of sympathy, she calmly announced that it was time for me to step aside and transfer my $15 million logistics company to her 18-year-old son, Tyler. My own son, Ethan, sat beside her with his head lowered, refusing to look me in the eyes. They believed they had already won. Instead of arguing, I smiled. Moments later, my attorney, Daniel Harper, walked into the room and quietly placed a sealed DNA report in front of Melissa. The confidence disappeared from her face before she even opened the envelope. She knew that whatever was inside could destroy everything. Only 3 days earlier, I had buried my wife, Grace, after losing her to pancreatic cancer. Together, we had built Caldwell Freight from a single worn-out delivery truck into a thriving logistics company through decades of sacrifice, endless work days, and sleepless nights. While I was still struggling with the greatest loss of my life, Melissa arrived at my house dressed for business instead of mourning. She handed me succession papers and claimed I was too old and emotionally unstable to continue leading the company. Her plan was simple. Tyler would become the official successor, while she and Ethan quietly controlled the business behind the scenes. I refused to sign immediately and told them I needed time to review the documents. As they walked out, I overheard Melissa whisper into her phone that the old man had taken the bait. That single sentence erased every doubt in my mind. They were not trying to help me recover. They were trying to steal everything my wife and I had built. The following morning, I arrived at company headquarters only to discover my executive security access had been revoked. Brandon, our chief financial officer, casually claimed Ethan had ordered a complete security upgrade while I was away. His rehearsed smile confirmed exactly what I feared. They were locking me out of my own company. Fortunately, years earlier, I had secretly created an offline backup system containing every financial record and hidden access point in the company's network. Before I could begin investigating, I received an emergency call. Tyler had been seriously injured in a motorcycle accident and was being rushed into surgery. At the hospital, doctors explained Tyler desperately needed a blood transfusion after losing a dangerous amount of blood. When they announced his blood type, everything around me seemed to stop. Ethan and I both had type O blood. Melissa had type A. Tyler had type AB. It was genetically impossible. I turned toward Ethan expecting confusion, but instead I saw fear. He could not even meet my eyes. At that moment I realized he already knew the truth. Tyler was not my biological grandson. Rather than exposing them immediately, I secretly collected DNA samples from Ethan and Tyler and delivered them to a private laboratory. While waiting for the results, I used my hidden backup system to investigate the company's finances. What I discovered was even worse than betrayal. Millions of dollars had disappeared through fake consulting companies created by Brandon. The money had not been stolen from company profits. It had been taken directly from the employee retirement fund while my wife was dying in hospice. Melissa had even prepared legal documents that would make me personally responsible for the missing money the moment I signed over control of the company. 2 days later, the DNA report confirmed my worst fear. Tyler was not Ethan's biological son. I hired a former federal investigator to uncover the rest of the truth. His investigation revealed that Melissa and Brandon had secretly been together for nearly 20 years. Brandon was Tyler's real father, and the affair had never ended. Then came the final betrayal. The investigator recovered an old email written by Ethan years earlier. Medical tests had revealed he was sterile and could never have children. Instead of exposing Melissa's lies, he chose to protect them because he feared losing his inheritance under the bloodline clause my late wife had written into our family trust. My own son had willingly deceived his parents for almost 2 decades simply to protect his future wealth. That was the moment my heartbreak turned into Determination, I invited Ethan and Melissa to my home and pretended to be a defeated old man who had finally accepted reality. I apologized, admitted they were right, and agreed to sign every document during the upcoming board meeting. Their excitement was impossible to hide. They truly believed they had outsmarted me. The second they drove away, I called my attorney and ordered him to prepare everything: fraud charges, financial records, DNA evidence, witness statements. Every stolen dollar was documented. Every lie was backed by undeniable proof. Federal investigators were quietly brought into the case. When Friday morning arrived, Melissa expected to celebrate her victory. Ethan believed his inheritance was finally secure. Brandon thought he was about to disappear with millions of stolen dollars. Instead, the boardroom doors opened. My attorney walked in carrying every piece of evidence, and the trap I had carefully prepared finally closed around them. The company they tried to steal became the very thing that exposed their crimes, destroyed their future, and cost them everything they thought they had already won. Sometimes the most dangerous person in the room is not the one who speaks the loudest. It is the one who quietly waits until the truth can no longer be denied.